It has long been expected that Ruben Amorin would eventually manage one of Europe's biggest clubs. Guiding Sporting to their first league title in 19 years all but guaranteed that, and the fact that his side will likely win it again this year only adds to his exceptional CV to date. Sporting recognized Amorim's talent early on, famously paying a huge release clause to acquire him after his blistering start at SC Braga. Despite being relatively unproven at the tender age of 35 years old, they had bet on his tactical mind, man management skills, and unwavering dedication as both a player and manager. Based on the job he's done so far to transform Sporting, Amorim could just be the new special one. Who is he, and why is he in such high demand? This is the remarkable rise of Ruben Amorin. As a player, Amorim was part of a fine Benfica team, winning 3 league titles between 2009 and 2015. He was even good enough to make Portugal's World Cup squads in 2010 and 2014 and is largely remembered as a hard worker in midfield or at right back, a James Milner type of player if you will. Forced to retire early in 2017 due to injury at the age of 32, he swiftly embarked on a new path as a coach, taking his first steps into management in the 2018-19 season with 3rd division side Casapia. 6 months later, however, he resigned after the club was sanctioned for his failure to possess the required coaching license. Amorim then rejected the chance to manage Benfica's B team despite being a fan of the club as a boy. Instead, he opted for Braga's B team, where he believed he could exercise more control. But in a rapid turn of events, the fresh-faced Amorim was handed his opportunity to manage the senior side after Braga had sacked Ricardo Sapinto in December 2019 following a poor run of form. His appointment turned their season around completely. Between January and February 2020, his side played Porto twice, Sporting twice, and Benfica once, a run of games about as tough as you can get in Portugal. But Braga won all 5 matches. In a matter of months, Amorim took Braga from 8th to 3rd place in the league, remained undefeated domestically, and secured his first trophy as a manager by winning the Portuguese League Cup, Taça da Liga. It was a sign of things to come for the burgeoning young manager, leading to increasing comparisons between him and renowned fellow countryman Jose Mourinho. Interestingly, Amorim himself credits Mourinho as an inspiration for his career, even taking the opportunity to meet the so-called special one in Manchester back in 2018 to enhance his knowledge. He shares a similar tenacity and underdog spirit with Mourinho, qualities that have remained with him throughout his subsequent managerial endeavors. Sporting have come a long way since Amorim's appointment, considering the challenging state the club was in when he first arrived. To put the transformation into context, Sporting have won more points than any other side in Portugal since Amorim's appointment 4 years ago, averaging 2.38 points per game in 136 league games. In the 136 games prior to his arrival, they had averaged just 2.13. Under manager Marcel Kaiser, Sporting had started the 2019-20 season with a 5-0 defeat in the Supertaça, the Portuguese Super Cup, which came at the hands of bitter Lisbon rivals Benfica, whom they hadn't finished above in the league for 11 consecutive seasons. After only 2 wins from 5 games, Kaiser was dismissed and replaced by Lionel Pontes, Sporting's former under-23 coach. Soon after, however, he too was dismissed after 0 wins from 4 league games. Jorge Manuel Rebelo Fernandez, also known as Silas, stepped in next and also proved underwhelming in his 28 games in charge, winning 17 but losing 10. By March 2020, Sporting, astonishingly, were already searching for their 4th manager of the season and wasted no time snatching up Amorim, less than 3 months after he had assumed control of Braga's senior team. Controversially, Sporting paid a huge €10 million fee to bring him to Lisbon, the 3rd highest fee paid for a manager at the time and a staggering amount for a Portuguese club to dish out. It was an even bigger risk given the strained relationship between the club's board and its fans, many of whom saw the appointment as an example of the board's reckless financial management. However, this time, the board was right. While he was unable to prevent Sporting from falling outside the top 3 by the end of his first half season, ironically finishing just below the club he'd helped do so well earlier in the season, his first full season in charge would shake Portuguese football to its core. Sporting went into the 2020-21 season having not won the Primeira Liga since 2002. Portuguese football has long been dominated by Os Três Grandes, the Big Three, so to have the third side in that trio underperforming to such an extent was embarrassing to say the least. And with Sporting fans largely unhappy about appointing a manager with such close ties with their rivals Benfica, Amorim also needed to get them on side, fast. Having lost star player Bruno Fernandes to Manchester United just weeks prior to his arrival, Amorim reconfigured his team, entrusting younger, hungrier players and nurturing their potential with his strong man management. Pedro Porro, now at Tottenham, was loaned from Manchester City, while João Palhinha and Matheus Nunes, the latter being a signing from the prior season, ran the midfield. Important squad players like Thiago Thomas and Nuno Mendes were also promoted from their academy. But above all, it was the young Pedro Gonçalves who emerged as the face of Amorim's revolution and a testament to his faith in the very youngsters whose performances would culminate in the club's first league title in 19 years. The international limelight was now on Amorim, but he had made the choice to continue at Sporting, citing that there was still unfinished work to be done with the club's ongoing project. Amorim began his second full season at Sporting by winning the Supertaça. Highlights of that season also included qualifying for the Champions League round of 16 for the first time since 2009, and Amorim becoming the fastest manager to win 50 games in the Primeira Liga. He had also led his side to their first away victory against Benfica in 6 years, following a 3-1 win, and then a month later, won his third consecutive League Cup in a 2-1 win against the same opponents. Back in Europe, his team were never expected to make it past City in the last 16, but in the Taça de Portugal, Portugal's most prestigious domestic cup competition and the equivalent of England's FA Cup, they were knocked out in the semi-finals by Porto. As of now, that competition is the only trophy in Portugal that Amorim has yet to win. By the end of the season, Sporting had matched their previous season's 85-point tally in the league. But this time, they finished as runners-up to an extraordinary Porto side, whose record-breaking 91 points tally still stands as the highest in the history of Portuguese football. The following 2022-23 season was Amorim's biggest disappointment yet, as Sporting finished outside the top 3 and failed to win a single trophy. As with all overperforming teams outside Europe's top 5 leagues, Sporting had faced an exodus of talent during the pre-season summer transfer window. Mendes had already left for Paris Saint-Germain the year before, while Palhinha and Nunes departed for the Premier League. Furthermore, the club opted against making Pablo Sarabia's loan deal permanent, resulting in the departure of their top goal scorer and main goal threat from the previous season. Despite struggling in the league, Amorim still guided Sporting to their third and his fourth consecutive League Cup final, even though they eventually lost that game. In the Europa League, Sporting made it all the way to the quarter-finals, following a memorable and surprise victory over favourites Arsenal on penalties. But after falling short of the club's objectives for the season, Amorim took responsibility and offered to give up his position following a meeting with the club's president and sporting director. Despite this, the club maintained their trust in him, with their president openly acknowledging him as one of the best coaches in the world and attributing their failure to meet their goals to poor season planning, specifically pointing out the departure of Nunes as a contributing factor. To mount any sort of title challenge, Amorim had to address a critical problem at the club: Sporting's consistent struggle of being outscored by their big three rivals. Last season, Sporting were outscored by other title contenders, and again in the season before that. Even in their title-winning campaign 4 years ago, they had scored just 65 goals compared to Porto's 74 and Benfica's 69. Since then, Sporting haven't seen many of its players reach 10 or more goals in a season either. Enter Victor Gyökeres. After a brilliant season in which he almost single-handedly fired Coventry City to Premier League promotion, Sporting splashed out a club record transfer fee of 20 million euros for the Swedish forward last summer. Last season saw him score 21 times in 46 English second-tier appearances, a tally he's already surpassed this season in the Portuguese top flight from nearly half the number of games. His 22 league goals to date have made Sporting the leading scorers with 79 goals so far, which is a whopping 17 more than their closest challengers. Their goals per game average of 2.93 is also the highest it's been for the club since its title-winning season in 1973-74. Across all competitions, Gyökeres' goal tally is already 36. Within Amorim's favoured 3-4-3 formation, Gyökeres plays as the number 9 with the creative Gonçalves and Marcus Edwards alongside him on the wings, while Trincão is often another option. While a lot of their build-up play comes centrally, Sporting's strength is picking the right time to feed the ball into wide areas and causing damage with their pace and creativity in the front three. Having such a ruthless front line has helped them maximize their opportunities in front of goal, converting from fewer expected goals per game compared to Benfica, their main title challengers this season. As of March 2024, Sporting's non-penalty shot conversion rate of 16.6% was even the highest of all 172 clubs across Europe's top 10 leagues this season. Now compare that to last season, when they were only able to convert 11.8% of all non-penalty shots. Much of Sporting's build-up play is also reliant on their 3 central defenders carrying the ball upfield. Of all defenders to have clocked at least 1,000 league minutes in Portugal this season, 2 of Sporting's 4 centre-backs, Gonçalo Inácio and Ousmane Diomande, rank in the top 5 players for carries per 90 and progressive carrying distance per 90. As a result, his side also lead the league in number of direct attacks, which is already more than they had recorded in the entirety of last season. Much of the beauty of this season's Sporting is their variations in attacking build-up. They lead the league for average open play possession time per sequence, as well as open play sequences containing 10+ passes that either end in a shot or have at least one touch in the opponent's box. In their games against Porto, Benfica, and Braga, they enjoyed less possession on each occasion but were still able to utilize their pace in attack with fast breaks. In fact, across the 2 matches against Porto and Benfica in the first half of this season, they attempted 5 shots from fast breaks, which so far makes up around 20% of their tally of shots from fast breaks for the season. This shows that Amorim can mix up his team's style based on the opponent. With Sporting topping the league and looking likely to win their 2nd title in 4 years, it's easy to see why such a young coach like Amorim would attract the interest of Europe's biggest clubs. So far, he has waited patiently for the right opportunity to take the next step in his career. While Mourinho achieved immediate success with Chelsea after departing Porto, premature career moves have proven to be a mistake for Portuguese coaches like André Villas-Boas and Bruno Lage, who had only spent 1 season with Porto and Benfica respectively before moving to England. In a sense, Amorim has already avoided that error by continuing at Sporting for this long, mirroring the decision of Xabi Alonso to stay at Bayer Leverkusen. And there's a prevailing belief that when he does eventually leave, he will achieve success, which the Premier League could be about to find out.